Welcome back to Healthcare Rounds. I'm Jon Marchica, CEO of Darwin Research Group. Thanks for listening today. I'm really excited. We have Jon Brown, Director of Central Operations, System Purchasing, and Logistics for IU Health. We're going to be talking all things health system pharmacy today. So welcome, Jon. Thanks for taking some time out to talk to us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Well, as I ask, and it feels like every episode I ask the same question, but I think it's important. Tell me a little bit about your background and kind of what got you to where you are today at IU.
I've been with IU Health. Oh my gosh, it'll be 20 years this year. So
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's kind of scary to say that. And honestly, I graduated from Butler in 2008, but I started with Indiana University Health in 2005 when it was Clarion Health. So we rebranded in the late 2000s, early 2000 teens. And when I started, IU Health was only 5 hospitals. And I started as a technician coming out of, I was in retail pharmacy as a teenager, basically. And when I moved up to Indianapolis full time, going to Butler University, I was like, you know what, I probably should take a look at hospital pharmacy and see if that's something that I'd want to do as a career as I got older. And so Clarion Health, what was Clarion Health is now IU Health, was opening a brand new hospital in Carmel, Indiana. They were calling it Clarion North Hospital, and they held an open hiring event. And, you know, the world of pharmacy is pretty small. So they actually invited my entire pharmacy class to come up, and anybody that, you know, wanted to get some interview experience, which was very gracious of them at the time. But invited my entire class. So me and probably a dozen of my classmates made a trek from Indianapolis up to Carmel, and they hired five of us on the spot. So it was kind of nice. It was an easy onboarding experience. And what I remember the most about that, and it kind of stands to this day, was they told us in the interview process, we plan on hiring for personality. We plan on hiring people, and we will train skill. And I was like, perfect, because I had never worked in a hospital pharmacy. I'd never worked in a hospital, period. Then not even any volunteer work up until that point. And I remember my first couple of days, we didn't even have any patients yet. The doors weren't officially opening. I remember the first couple of days thinking to myself, this is it. This is what I want to do. It was different. It was kind of patient focused, more so than the retail pharmacy experience that I had. And it was like, I was smitten, if you will, with hospital pharmacy at the time. So I graduated in 2008 and got a job as a pharmacist at University Hospital within IU Health. So the true academic center of IU Health.
Sure.
That hospital is in the process of combining with Methodist Hospital in downtown Indianapolis right now. But I was there for, almost 11 years, 12 years. And went from a technician to a pharmacist, from a pharmacist to a coordinator to a manager. Eventually moved over to the system side, and now I'm the director over here. So I've done everything from ICU clinical to managing operations on the hospital side, all the way up. You know, now I'm doing purchasing and operations at the system level at our integrated service center. So it's been a long and winding journey. And now IU Health is 16 hospitals, and we have 2,700 beds and 17 retail pharmacies, and you name it. We're all over the state of Indiana. So basically grown with it. As it's grown, it's been fun.
It's the best way to learn the business, right? I mean, you start from scratch, right? Entry level, and you've seen all these different areas of the business. I find it interesting too, the way that you were hired. I thought I was one of the rare people who kind of thought like hire the person rather than, you know, the job description, so to speak, because they're right. At the end of the day, you know, who's got potential, who's excited to be here, who's got the personality. I mean, just kind of go down the list. The specifics can be taught. Not all positions can be done that way, but I've always had that philosophy, and I find it's refreshing. You know, my first question stems from, we have a mutual colleague, Greg Chavez, who I think made the introduction, the two of us, but he was telling me about your like kind of primary facility or distribution facility. Just describe for us, because it's different. Not saying that there isn't another one kind of like it, but the way that he laid it out, it really was something to hear. So can you talk a little bit about your sort of central facility and what that's all about and what you're trying to get accomplished and what might make that different from your typical hospital pharmacy?
Yeah, sure can. So little history on this facility. I had emails in my inbox from 2009 talking about the services that we could offer from a centralized pharmacy perspective. And, we're not the only people doing it. We're not the only academic health center that centralized some of their pharmacy services. We're not the only system, period, that has done it. But when we set out, our plan was we want to be the most automated and technologically advanced centralized pharmacy service center in the United States. I was literally written on a piece of paper and on a whiteboard in a planning session. And I think at the time when we opened a couple of years ago, we were probably close to that. We probably were really, really close to accomplishing that goal. But the way technology is moving right now, even the way healthcare is moving right now, if you're not changing, you're falling behind. So we're looking at ways to innovate in new automation and how we would change what we're currently doing. But in 2012, we started the search for space, if you will. We had obviously IU Health had a ton of real estate. We had quite a few places that we could go and put some services in, but we decided not to wait on physical space to start centralizing and systemizing some stuff. So we started working on formularies and med safety and drug information, and those things you can do without having a physical facility. It is really nice if you can get some office space together with those people that are completing those tasks. And sometimes we could, sometimes we couldn't, just depended on how big the staff was. But so 2012, we started putting pen to paper and talking about where could we go and what services would we work with. And at the time, I was the manager of the pharmacies at Methodist and University, the inpatient pharmacies at Methodist and University, and just tangentially involved in some of these discussions. Considering that's 50 to 60% of IU Health's business, it made sense for some of those folks to be involved in the discussions. And then in 2015, or thereabouts, 2015, 2016, our supply chain crew actually rented this facility out here by the airport, just on the edge of Indianapolis and Plainfield. And the idea at the time was supply chain will get into the building, and then ancillary services will be added later, as in pharmacy, IS, maybe surgical supply, that kind of thing. Well, got to 2017 and supply chain was up and running. I think they did their first distribution piece in 2018, and then really started heavy hitting planning how pharmacy would move out here and what the dollars were going to be, and ask for those dollars from a budget scenario. And about that time is when they started really thinking about combining Methodist and universities in university hospitals in downtown Indianapolis. So when we first asked for the money to move down here, they told us this is an excellent idea. We fully, this is the board of directors. They told us it's an excellent idea and we fully support it. Not right now, but not never. So kind of, sharpened our pencils, went back to the drawing board, and then COVID hit. So rather than keep digging around and asking for money for a centralized facility, we retooled a little bit, and we had conversations around, we know we're going to do this at some point. We know we're going to be in a building at some point. What can we do right now to make ourselves better when we get in the building? And one of the things that we decided on was we were going to standardize our inventory control across our system. Every hospital pharmacy is going to be on the same software. They're going to have the same hardware, because really you can't take advantage of a centralized facility if you don't know what you have on your shelves at your hospitals.
Of course.
So we spent most of COVID installing inventory control software and hardware at all of our hospital facilities across the state. And during that time, we got a new chief pharmacy officer who came in and really kind of ramped up our efforts on asking for dollar bills for the build out here at the Integrated Service Center. Got that finally approved. I think it was 19 or 20. Started our build out here in 21 and kind of took occupancy in early 23. And what we decided to put out here was an adventure. It really was an adventure. So obviously, we need to make sure we were paying back the dollar bills that they gave us to build out here. So some of our services were based on what's going to give us the most bang for our buck while still providing enhanced patient care or enhanced services to our hospital pharmacies. And one of the bigger things was expanding our specialty pharmacy, which we did. They were operating out of, a room the size of a shoebox, at our downtown facilities, and they were just landlocked. They just couldn't grow anymore because they didn't have the space. They didn't have the for more drugs or more people. So we built that into the ask out here. And then from there, it was what's going to be best for our people? What's going to be best for the folks that work at IU Health to provide the best patient care they can provide, and what's going to be best for the patients? What do our patients need? And some of the things that we really keyed on were how can we mitigate drug shortages? How can we become somewhat of our own distributor for things that are critical and are essential for the care of the patients at IU Health? So we started a repackaging program. We started some strategic purchasing programs. We have 2 licenses out here at our facility. We have a hospital license and a retail license. So we have a distribution center for both walks of life in pharmacy at the health system level. As of right now, we're distributing on the hospital and clinic side, we're distributing about 300,000 doses a month out of this facility. I expect that to double this year or close to it.
Wow.
Yeah. And then on the retail side, we're doing somewhere around 1,200 prescriptions per day out of our retail shop here for patients all across the state. That includes central fill pharmacy for all of our retail pharmacies. It includes central mail for our mail order pharmacy, and it includes our specialty pharmacy prescriptions that are going out. So about 1,200 prescriptions per day. Our goal at some point in the future is to almost triple that and get closer to 5,000 prescriptions a day. We don't even do that many prescriptions, period, throughout the health system. So there's going to be some business growth, but we'll also have to have some geographic growth, some physical growth at the ISC. And then the third service line we have out here is a compounding center. And what we found with our compounding center is it's really not a huge cost savings for us. Occasionally we'll find something that saves us cost, but what that really has given us is flexibility for back orders. If something goes on back order or comes off of back order, we use our compounding center as a ramp on and ramp off of those things. Think Baxter and the struggles they've had since the disaster that was the hurricane. We've been able to mitigate some of those fluid shortages by compounding here at the facility within, regulatory compliance. And then occasionally we'll have something that comes along that's, this is being made by a 503B shop. We can make it for cheaper than what they're making it, and we can do it in a non-anticipatory fashion. We can make, a 7-day supply or a 24-hour supply. We can get it to any of our facilities within a couple of hours. So there have been a few occasions where we were able to save a little bit of money, but mostly our compounding center has improved patient care. It has enhanced safety like off the charts, and it has given us a chance to mitigate some drug shortages. So it's exactly delivering on our promise. And then we went beyond that scope a little bit, and we decided, okay, this isn't just a physical facility. What else can this be? So we actually built a second floor, a mezzanine on top of our first floor operations. And up there we have our med safety department. We have our Center for Medication Management and Formulary group. We have our joint faculty relationships. So with the schools of pharmacy here in the state, we have some folks that work for both. They work for IU Health and the universities. Their offices are here. And additionally, we have our contact center. So our retail and specialty contact center is upstairs. So there's 40 to 50 cubicles upstairs for folks that answer whatever physician questions, whatever patient questions come up. They do prior authorizations, they do educations, and we do it all from a centralized facility. The growth up there is very likely to be more prior authorizations, more patient assistance stuff. How can we get stuff cheaper for the patients here in Indiana? How can we make sure that they're getting the care that they need without it negatively affecting their pocketbook, if we can possibly make that happen? We spend a lot of time chasing down patient assistance stuff and free drug. This year, that contact center, that's probably been one of the bigger satisfiers from a patient perspective. We're going to double the size of that thing. So we're going to have somewhere between 80 and 90 butts in seats, if you will, that in our call center, hopefully answering whatever questions come up from patients. So we've done, we do have automation in all of our distribution centers. We do have some partnerships, some strategic partnerships with some couriers, just to make sure that, we're not just making things in the most automated and safest way. We're also delivering them, and showing receipt of those deliveries in the safest way and most efficient way possible. And we've created some partnerships with within pharmacy that are going to expand, maybe over to the supply chain side, maybe to the IS side, where those companies, they don't just do pharmacy, or they don't just have to do pharmacy. They can do other things. So I think we've added to the both the patient and the team member experience outside of pharmacy as well. So pretty proud of this place.
So going to be a long wind up to this next question, but the number of recent conversations that I've had with pharmacy leaders have talked about sort of like the evolution, not so much on this podcast, although hopefully we'll have a discussion of this right here, right now. But the evolution of hospital-based or IDN pharmacy going from being this sort of cost center, burden almost in a sense, or it's like just fulfilling orders, from that old school mindset to no, pharmacy is actually a strategic asset for the organization, and it touches every element of healthcare and so on and so forth. And it sounds to me, at least, that you're on the road to that with what you've described with even just that facility, but some of the things that you're doing. What is the process like, or how does an organization like yours go from sort of the standard pharmacy, fulfilling orders, making sure that patients are being taken care of, medication adherence, the standard stuff, to being more of a strategic asset in an organization? How does that happen?
I think it's two-pronged. So first of all, your leadership has to be engaged. Pharmacy all the way at the top. The pharmacy leader at the top, or leaders at the top, have to have a seat at the table. When the C-suites and the executives are meeting, you need to have a person in the room who understands pharmacy, is a pharmacy person, and can not only advocate for pharmacy, but advocate for the company by using pharmacy as that tool, if you will. So it starts at the top, and getting engagement, getting buy-in from executive leadership for what pharmacy can do, while having a pharmacy person in the room who can speak intelligently of what pharmacy can and can't do, because there are can'ts as well. That being said, from a strategic perspective, I think it really depends. So there are some super duper intelligent folks in the world of pharmacy who don't just have pharmacy degrees. They have business degrees. They have public health degrees. They're not only, in a lot of respects, they're not only pharmacists, they're business owners, or they run businesses on a very regular basis. And as you and everybody else on this planet knows, pharmacy is a business, even especially outside of a hospital or outside of a health system. Pharmacy is a business, and it is a lucrative business, not just for pharmacy itself, but also for pharma. There's no way around that conversation. It just is what it is. That being said, I found, especially over the last 15 to 20 years, I mean, we spent a long decades, trying to find our way to hospital rounds, trying to find our clinical way in this world when it comes to patient care. And I think we did a really nice job of proving that we are valuable members of the care team. And this feels very, very similar to me, that we are spending our time trying to be members of the business care team as well, because pharmacy's got a lot to offer. Pharmacists themselves have a lot to offer. Just by nature, pharmacists are very detail oriented, and they are very much stuck to let's do this the right way, and let's do this the best way for everybody involved. We often find ourselves as kind of the ombudsman. We often find ourselves as the go-between between, what the physicians want, maybe what the business leaders want, maybe even what nursing wants. I would advocate and argue that pharmacy is oftentimes the veins, the lifeblood of what happens in a hospital, just because almost every single patient's care runs through pharmacy at some point. And we end up being, we end up being the compromiser between what the physician wants or needs or thinks should happen, what nursing can and can't do from a workload perspective. We end up in weird situations helping this professional do that or consulting in this regard, because everybody's getting medicine in a hospital. So we're involved in the patient care kind of start to finish. And now it's getting to the point where, even my job on the business side, I work on the business rather than in the business. And I can tell you, we're saving millions and millions of dollars a year on drug purchasing, which flows across the business lines. If we're providing cheaper drugs to the physicians and to the hospitals, they can in turn provide cheaper care to the patients, because the bottom line is different from a business perspective. And if you look at, take 340B, for example, when a hospital system can save $150-200 million a year on 340B drugs, what else can we offer to patients? Newer facilities, better access, more free care to the underserved populations. Like, you just run down the list of the things that we can offer with $100 million in 340B savings. It's astounding the amount of stuff that we can turn around and give back to patients just because we're saving $1 here and $1 there on this dose or that dose. So in my mind, that's where pharmacy is how can we affect the bottom line to improve patient care, patient access, provide more to the patients here in Indiana and anywhere. It's not just IU Health, it's any pharmacy department. Good business minds, common sense perspectives on things. And, we hold the line when it comes to the attention to detail. We hold the line. We're one of the most regulated professions in the world. We know what it's like to be criticized. We know what it's like to have somebody look over your shoulder and say, don't do that like that, do it like this. Don't do that like that, do it like this. So I think we're natural. We step into a leadership role from a business perspective very naturally.
Yeah. And I think that's, that may be the key. You mentioned having that support from, or the drive coming from pharmacy leadership and having a seat at the table, and executive conversations, but it's also, I could make the same argument about doctors in the, sort of new value-based world that we're living in. Of course, it's about the patients. Of course, it's about outcomes. Of course, all those things. But having some sort of financial sense, the business savvy that needs to go along with it, I think, in thinking about pharmacy in that way, is at least a step toward that kind of, okay, now we really are a strategic asset, as I said. And it's not just, it's almost like a two-stage process. Like one, okay, now we're in grand round, now we're doing rounds. So now we're accepted part of the care team. But then that next step is, okay, well, what are we doing for the system?
Yeah.
And it's not just the care. It is, what are we doing through the savings that we're getting, as you said, on 340B, or the being able to compound here on site, and maybe that helps in financially as well as with patient care. But maybe it's like, I think there's always been business-minded people, but nowadays it at least feels to me, and based on the conversations I've been having, all the more reason why it's more important than ever for pharmacy to elevate, to be able to be in that position, in contributing. I think one of the things that I want to turn to, and I know we've been talking, it's like time just goes like this on this podcast. I swear, I looked up and we've been talking for almost a half an hour. So last week, I think it was last week, we did a rerun of a previous podcast episode. I was recovering from some shoulder surgery, and I was like, a lot of people listen to this one, so let's run it again. But it was about pharma, the pharma industry, and partnering in the various ways that they engage and partner, quote unquote, partner with health systems. But that was from an ex-pharma guy's perspective, right? That was him saying, here's what I think that we should do. As a pharmacy leader, and one who's now almost in the 20th year with IU Health, from your perspective, how, and let me give just a little bit more background. I've said it before. I think I said it on this last episode. Pharma recognizes that they too want to be a bigger player in sort of like the overall care conversation. Just like you went from, you have leadership, support, and then now you're doing rounds, and now we're showing some financial benefit in addition to the outcomes, right? I think pharma wants to take that same path, but they want to do it with health systems. But again, it's my opinion solely, they've been sort of so ingrained in this reach and frequency rep model for so many years that it takes a lot to change to think about. So when a pharma, when somebody from Pfizer or Merck or J&J, whatever, comes to meet with you, it's got to be beyond just the contract conversation or beyond the simple conversation. So that's a huge wind up, again, long wind up to the question. But in your experience, how does a pharma engage with you in a way that really truly does have the same kind of goals in mind? In other words, what does that higher level relationship look like? And in your experience, which is a lot at this point, have you experienced that kind of relationship with another pharma company?
That's a loaded question.
I know it's loaded and there's a lot in there. So answer it however you will.
All right. So here's what I think. I think it's overdue for pharma to help make sure that we're providing the most affordable, efficient, and safest care to patients. I think it's overdue, to be completely honest with you. Historically, there's this, on the healthcare side, on the actual provider side, there's this, I don't know, call it whatever you want. There's a perception that pharma's in it for the money. That's because they're a business. They sell things. Even though it's healthcare related and it's medicines most of the time, they're in it to sell things. That's their job. That's what they do. And it's no different than a McDonald's. I mean, it is, but they're sell things. They're not going to give away hamburgers, unless it down the road helps them from a business perspective, right? Well, it's a lot like an insurance company. If you treat patients correct up front, maybe it costs you less to treat them 5 years down the road, or 10 years
Sure.
down the road, right? If a pharma company were to treat a hospital or a health system correctly in the first place and help us care for patients, maybe we buy more of your product 5 years or 10 years down the road. Maybe we look to you first when it comes to how are we going to treat this patient? Maybe you got 3 companies coming out with very similar products. Maybe we look more favorably on a company that, did a risk share with us, or did a, some sort of cost benefit analysis with us in the past, where, okay, we're going to buy this product. We want to make sure that when we buy the product, the guarantee that comes from whatever the pharma company is, that 28% of these patients are going to see full curatives and 79% are going to see true benefit over 2 to 5 years, or the lifetime expectancy of this vaccine series is what it is. Put your money where your mouth is, kind of thing. Share in the risk for us. We're buying this, believing that what you've offered from a sales perspective and from a product perspective is going to positively impact this patient's life. And if it doesn't do what you studied and published and said it was going to do, or if it costs us more to do it because it didn't do X, Y, or Z, and or it did A, B, and C, then get in the boat with us. Row in the same direction as us. And if we're paying $100 a dose and it has 80% effectiveness, give us 20% of our money back, or whatever. It could be any number of things, but a risk share type thing. And then here's the other piece. Be honest with us. From a supply perspective, don't sugarcoat things. If you're going to have supply issues and it's going to last 3 months or 6 months, then tell me it's going to last 3 to 6 months. You probably should find some sort of alternative. You should probably clinically move to something else. You should probably find a different distributor or a different manufacturer of this specific product. I get it. It's bad news. Nobody wants to deliver bad news. But on the back end of that bad news, we are making clinical decisions based on the product that you provide to us. So if you're trying to sugarcoat something and say, we think there'll be a release in 6 weeks, and there's not a release for 4 months, then I didn't make the proper clinical decision because I didn't have the proper information I needed. So be honest. 1, share in the risk. 2, be honest with us. Row in the same direction as us. That this is not to be honest, this opinion is not a healthcare opinion. This is a relationship opinion, right?
Right.
Just get on the same page with us and things will go way, way better, way smoother. And they've done better in the recent past, like rebate models and cost savings perspective, especially the cost savings analysis stuff. We've had multiple manufacturers come in and say, hey, this is a cost calculator that we've come up with. We want you to look at it. We want you to poke holes in it. We want you to doubt it so we can make it better and offer it, down the line for whatever this clinical care, this component of clinical care that we're offering. And that's fun. That is fun for a pharmacist to get that. It sits on their desk and they're like, that's not going to work. That's too much. As goofy as that sounds and as nerdy as that sounds from a pharmacist's perspective, that's the stuff we love. We love to have the details put in front of us so we can kind of knock them out, criticize them one at a time, or say, wow, this is really cool. And we would love to do this with you, or we would love to see the end product of this and whatever comes out of it. So, the answer to your question, John, is get in the boat, pick up an oar, and row with us to better patient care. Row with us. Don't stand on the shore and clap. Get in the boat. Come with us.
I'm hearing everything that you're saying, and what I would add, or maybe put a little different spin on it, is number one, in order to be honest with you, they, whoever you're working with, has to be empowered, fully empowered to be honest. Not just to be honest, but because I don't think people would just willingly, come out and tell you falsehoods, but be empowered to know the answers to those questions, that it's not a 6-week delay, that it's more like a 3-month delay, or it's a 4-month delay, because they're empowered to know that information and it's been communicated to them so that they can communicate that to you. Right. And then the other thing that I heard is in this sort of conversation around, the old tactical versus strategic element of the health system, and having that business sense. And I know some people are going to be listening to this and they're going to be like, duh, but I'm serious. It's bringing that mindset. If you say, look, the patient is what matters in the end and outcomes are what matters. Like, we all agree on that. Like, that's what we're trying to get to, better outcomes, and all. But having that business mindset to be able to come to you and say, this is our model, estimated cost of care, total cost of care. These are the things that can go right. These are the things that can go wrong when you're using our drug. Or maybe it's not even specific to a drug. Maybe it's just like treating within a category, but something that is more thinking entrepreneurial, thinking like a bit like a business person as well, that will change the tone of the conversation, which also kind of comes back to being empowered to do so, but also having the level of skill in that person coming from the pharma company that can do those things, or at least bring in people with that expertise into your office and say, look, we've thought this through, and here are the revenue implications or the cost implications or the how we influence total cost of care. So it's really more around that kind of more business-like conversation.
Yeah, and I think there's two things there, right? Not only what you're saying is bring in the right person with the right level of experience, with the right level of access, with the right knowledge to talk to folks on the ground, right? I need somebody, hate to put it this way, but if I had somebody with the same mindset I had come to me from a pharma company, that's ideal, right? But that's never going to happen. You're going to run into different personalities. But what you're saying makes complete sense. They have to have the knowledge and the permission to share these things, first of all. Second, when they walk in the door, like it's gotta start as a partnership. The question can't be, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. The question starts with the patient. What's best for the patient here? And if that's not where we're starting, then we're not doing it the right way, guys. We're just not.
Yeah. And ironically, I mean, that's kind of like the thing you talk about, win-win-win. That's the thing that you can align on.
That's correct.
You can argue about a million other different things as it relates to the product or delivery or cost or all those things. But that's the place where you can have that alignment. I also think, is it important, to recognize that different kinds of products have different kinds of impact, not just on patients, but on your bottom line. Sure. So a vaccine conversation might be very different from, an oncolytic versus, a drug for schizophrenia. I don't know. It's not coming to my head fast enough here, but to have the knowledge of, that's part of that business sense of, how does this influence your bottom line or top line, right? Having a sense of that. Do you see that level of financial acumen in general from the people who see you?
It's not just financial. It's also clinical to a certain extent. Like, think a drug like furosemide. It's super cheap. There's no meat left on that bone. Nobody's making any money on Lasix anymore.
Right.
However, it is incredibly clinically impactful in so many order sets and power plans and patient plans for so many different disease states that it's an essential drug. It is, you cannot treat a heart failure patient without some sort of diuretic, right? That being said, that's not common knowledge. You may have somebody who comes in with great business acumen that wants to help, that doesn't understand, hey, there's no impact here. There's no financial impact here. We're probably going to lose money on this deal. Well, probably not. If I can keep a congestive heart failure patient out of the hospital for another month, that's actually probably going to save everybody some money. So it's not just the financial acumen. It's also a little bit clinical acumen. I do occasionally get somebody in the office that I'm just like, whoa, yes, absolutely. I'm on the same page as this person, but it's not always, you don't always get it in one meeting. You don't always get it in a 30 or 45-minute meeting. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 meetings to kind of align on those things. But you're right. If you start from the patient and agree that we're going to do the best thing for the patient here, and then figure out how for it to be a win for the hospital and a win for, whatever the company is, then you start from there. But it's, I don't know. And I don't want to speak poorly of anybody that I work with, so I won't, but I mean, there are definitely sometimes where we run into somebody and it's like, this person gets it. This person is on the same page with us. And it's not just about pushing information down our throats and, getting us the next best offer or finding us a bulk buy or a strategic buy that makes a lot of sense. It's all of those things. It's not one or two of those things. It's all of those things.
Well, I can tell you, just based on a lot of the work that we've done in the last few years, there are many pharma companies out there that are honestly and for the right reasons trying to figure all this out.
I agree
that it's not just about, oh, we need to sell more products. Of course, like you said, it's a business. You want to see more patients. You want to double the size of your pharmacy facility. You want to be doing all these other different things that are good for IU. There's nothing wrong with that because it's also good for patients, right? But having that next level conversation, and honestly, John, I feel like, sometimes it's like they're grasping at straws. They're just not sure. And what I usually say is it kind of cheesy, but it starts with having that honest conversation, right? And asking questions 100%. And not coming from a place of, well, I want this, and not that they're like that anyway. I'm just saying it starts with having that honest dialogue to really uncover, well, what is really most important, not just to you, but to your system, to your patients. And then let's have a conversation that starts with the patient, but then also has the clinical and the financial. And I guess the other thing that I would add, the triumvirate, right, is operational. Is it what are we trying to do? Is it going to blow up your system with this new project that we want to engage these X number of patients? Is it operationally efficient to do so?
Sure.
Does it save time and workflow, right?
Yeah, it might save you a ton of money, but if you're having to open 25 vials of the smaller vial size, because it's going to save you $300,000 a year, it's going to take that technician all day to make 5 doses. Instead of opening 3 vials, you're opening 30, and that happens. That truly does happen. You end up with some operational nightmares just because you're trying to save a dollar bill here or there.
So while we wrap it up, John, because we've gone a little bit over, but that's okay. I'm enjoying this conversation. What's as you look to the future this year and into next year, are there any big things that we can expect coming out of IU and IU Pharmacy? Anything that you've got your sights on that you're really excited about that you just want to mention? I'm not asking for proprietary, behind the scenes stuff, but what you're really excited about, what's to come.
Sure. Yeah. I think the biggest things for me are growth on the retail side, and the contact center, the call center, doubling the size of that thing and adding a bunch of people for folks to get a hold of. Honestly, that makes me smile. That makes me feel good that we're directly impacting patient care from a hospital where we're not even a hospital. I mean, we're a building that has a hospital, hospital buying power, but
right.
having worked in a hospital with patients from a clinical perspective for, a decade and a half, and then to move out here and move away from the direct patient care. And then all of a sudden, hey, we're doing it again. It feels really good. Right. That's the pharmacist in me. The other thing that I'm super excited about is we have put a ton of time and conversation and thought into what efficiently makes the most sense for us to centralize. And, some centralized facilities from a pharmacy perspective will do everything. And that's a matter of control, inventory control, financial control, that kind of thing. Some sites they're fast movers. So they'll centralize everything that is, from a drug velocity and just a sheer efficiency perspective. They'll centralize everything that has, turns of greater than 14 in a year. You turn it over once a month or twice a month. And then there are folks that are only doing the slow movers. So, there's 3 or 4 different philosophies here. And we have spent a ton of time and effort around the conversation of what makes the most sense for IU Health. And what we found is what makes the most sense for IU Health is for us to centralize the things that are essential for patient care, essential and critical for patient care, because then we can mitigate drug shortages if they happen. We can keep 3 to 6 months worth of supply, be the distributor for those 100 or 200 items that we absolutely have to have on our shelves for patient care. And then occasionally we pull something in on a strategic purchase and save a bunch of money on it. And it's not on our top 200, list. In top 200 lists they are personal and they're specific based on the location. Some places do top 200 based on purchase. Some do top 200 based on velocity. We're going to do top 200 based on sheer patient care. What do we have to have on our shelves to take care of our patients? And that's going to be our top 200. And that's what we're going to centralize. And that's what we're going to fill in our machines across the system. That's what we're going to become a distributor of. If it grows, it grows. But I'm super excited that we went in that direction rather than picking some arbitrary dollar bill on a page.
Well, Jon, it's so fun to talk to you because it's so evident your passion for what you do it just comes through the way that you speak. And I can tell you as one from the outside, who studies health systems, that's what my company does. I don't talk a lot about it on the podcast, but that's what we do. I've been observing IU now for some time, and we've been writing about it and studying it. There's a lot of good things happening. I feel like, location-wise, center of the country, the UC systems, certain Massachusetts systems get a lot of notoriety, but there's a lot of really good things I can say objectively, and the growth that the system has had over the last, say, 6 or 7 years that we've been tracking it, 8, 9 years. It's been nice to see, and but this is the first time that we've ever really kind of looked at pharmacy and having this conversation around pharmacy. It's really exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. It is.
So wish you the best. Hope to have you back in kind of maybe in a year and just see, well, how did things grow? How did things change? Would love to have you back.
Love to be back. I appreciate you firing questions at me and letting me just kind of get on my soapbox and go on, because I am pretty passionate.
No, it's great. It's great. So, Jon, thanks again. Well, that's it. That'll do it for another Healthcare Rounds. Thank you for being here. Please make sure to rate and review wherever you listen to your podcast, or if you watch it on YouTube. Again, today we talked to Jon Brown, Director of Central Operations, System Purchasing, and Logistics for IU Health. Jon, thanks again. And thanks again to everybody for listening. And we'll see you next round.